Welcome to another episode of Morning Mojo with me, your host, Shane Solomon. Now, today I'm super excited to welcome on the sofa, not one, not two, but three powerful minds. Some people that are not strangers, of course, to the studios here. I'm really delighted to welcome. We've got Josh, we've got Ruth, and we've got Ollie, and we're going to get straight into the content. We're going to talk about a bit what you do in a moment. But first of all, Josh, I'm going to come to you first because you're so far away from me. I just want to bring you in closer. Key to confidence. What is your kind of secret sauce there, my friend?
Start with a big question.
Absolutely.
I think for me, recognizing successes. So whilst you have lots of successes and there'll be lots of failures, usually more failures than successes, being able to recognize, remember and celebrate successes. So you've always got a bit of positive vibes going on in your head. So you know you have been able to do good things in the past and good things will happen in the future.
Sure.
So you can make good decisions.
And of course, failure is just part of it, right? We learn from failures. You know, you can't have success without failures.
Yeah, I heard the other day, another podcast, I'm afraid, but someone saying the most successful people will have had the most number of failures.
Indeed. And Ruth, for you, key to confidence, Ruth, because you radiate confidence.
I think for me, it's about learning something new every day. That's what gives me my innate confidence, but it also helps me to keep up with the world and what we need to look at next as a part of our organisation. But certainly, if I'm learning something new every day, I feel good about myself.
I like that. And Ollie, for you, we're not born with confidence. We have to learn it. Yeah. We have to enhance that skill. What's the key to confidence for you?
For me, two things. I think we have to acknowledge and accept that life is difficult. And we're not really taught that from an early age. And so when you enter the world, it's kind of all bright and it's a fairy tale. And then suddenly, we get into working practices and we get into environments where actually it's not easy, is it? Life. There's lots of difficult things that we'll have to face, but we have to learn things like grit, resilience, optimism. And that links to the second thing, which is, I'm here once, as far as I'm aware. This is my show, my narrative, the story I'm creating. So why not make the most of it every single day? So when you wake up, decide what you're going to do, decide who you're going to be, have a life's purpose, connect to the purpose, and do things that matter.
Indeed. Great advice here already.
Choose your attitude.
Choose your attitude, yeah.
And we get to choose it, right? It's like, you've got one way or the other to go. And it is all about, and it's a lot of people say to me, "Oh, Shane, it's all right for you. You always seem really positive. It's all right for you, and it's all right for you, Ollie. It's all right for you, Ruth. It's all right for you, Josh." But the reality is, you've got to keep learning these things. It's not all unicorns and rainbows for Shane Solomon, as for you guys. And it's how you overcome these things, I think, is important. And one of my questions, I'm going to put this in, it's not on the notes, but what do you do when things are not going your way? So we've all experienced that where you think you're on a certain kind of path and then obstacles come in and it doesn't go your way. How do you deal with that? Ollie, I'll come to you first, It
links to what Ruth was saying, actually, because if you have a learning mindset, a growth mindset, whatever you want to call it, our brains are plastic, they're pliable. It's called neuroplasticity. If you just stay still, your brains will shrink. What you have to do is evolve and adapt to the environment around you, not let it control you. So if you're learning consistently every single day, then you can't really go far wrong because you're evolving and you're progressing. And progress is a real key indicator of what makes people happy. Happiness is not a destination. We speak to people who want their staff to be happy and to have well-being programs in their organizations and all this sort of stuff. But we talk about this a lot, which is, the happiest people feel psychologically safe. And what I mean by that is that with themselves, they feel content with who they are and they can speak up when they need to. And they're competent at communication. They're competent at feeling able to have a perspective and a point of view. And they feel safe also because their environments that they're in allow that space to happen as well. So everyone can share new ideas, new thought processes, can engage in creativity. And the world's a mess, isn't it, really? Everyone's at war, everyone's arguing, it's all black and white. And now what we want to try and do, actually, is help people exactly on that, which is just build these environments where it's actually fun to have different perspectives. It's actually really cool to be different, but to actually embrace other people's differences and learn from everyone. And if you're consistently learning, you can't go far wrong.
I want to use this moment because you've really spoke about it, but Smart Working Revolution for me is a fantastic business that you have there, because it's working on the kind of higher faculties of people's mindset and things like that. So Ruth, just for our viewers and for our listeners, just explain what you do in essence at Smart Working Revolution.
So we're not consultants. Let's start off with that.
Okay.
We're practitioners. We roll our sleeves up and help organisations with workforce transformation. So when we're talking about workforce transformation, it could be that they want to implement more forms of smart working. It could be that they'd like to improve the skill of their leadership. So we look at what we call smart leadership. Or it could be that they want to improve the skills of their workforce. So we talk about smart skills, and these are so necessary in this for these modern ways of working. And I think so many organisations haven't invested effectively in that skill base. So it's a combination of workforce transformation and this smart business wisdom, which impacts the whole of your business, not just the way that people work, but the way that people operate, the way that people think, the way that people learn, alongside smart leadership skills and smart skills for colleagues.
And of course, your kind of smart working and the hybrid, and you talk about hybrid working from home and that mix going into an office. You've been doing this long before the pandemic came along, guys. You were kind of there way before all this, weren't you?
We were indeed. So at least 20 years before
Yeah.
the pandemic. So, we've been banging the drum on this for so many years. But the interesting thing is the landscape is still evolving. So there's still more to do. And we're talking more about well-being at the moment, and the well-being of organisations who are working maybe remote friendly or hybrid. And Ollie mentioned it earlier, the importance of psychological safety. When a person goes to work, they feel that they can speak up, they can have their say.
Yes.
And I think that's crucial.
And it is. And I think you can relate that to the recent scandal with the post office.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, if we look at what's happened there, it was definitely an issue with a piece of technology. It was technological change. That technology obviously failed, but there wasn't that level of psychological safety that enabled somebody within that organisation to speak up and say something's wrong here. What I was talking to you about earlier was that my background is HR director. If I'd been the HR director in the post office, I would have thought to myself, there's something wrong with my recruitment system. We seem to be recruiting thieves. Actually, let me go and have a look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd have looked at it, realised that that wasn't the case, and I would have had to have spoken up. So what happened in that boardroom where where somebody felt that they couldn't speak up? It's a fear culture, would you say?
I would definitely say it's a fear culture. I mean, there's just recognition of patterns. One of the biggest assets, I think, in just humans and businesses especially, is to recognize patterns that work and don't work. And if there are patterns that are consistently not working, someone's got to interrupt the pattern.
Sure.
And in the post office, they didn't, did they? They just let it continually happen.
No.
And there's got to be a reason for that. And fear, the inability for people to have a voice must have been suppressed at some level. And that has to be leadership.
Absolutely.
And we're talking about motivation. How on earth can you be motivated if you're fearful?
That's right. That's right. Well, look, I want to move on to the next question for a minute, and that is transformational change and how you achieve that. Now, I don't expect an in-depth answer, but Josh, I'm going to come to you. How can one listening to this podcast or indeed viewing it on YouTube work towards transformational change, in your opinion?
Interesting one. I think probably more for Ruth and Ollie.
Okay.
So relatively new.
Okay.
But we want to work with thoughtful leaders. And so what we've found really helps is that the leaders are already in a place or heading towards a place where they're up for that change and understand that change can be challenging, can be hard, and therefore really needs to be managed well in an organization at every level. So like Ruth said, it's not just that the leaderships make a decision and then suddenly everyone has to fall in line, or it's not just that lower managers can just choose to do whatever they want whenever they want. It needs to be structured and supported and done well at all levels.
Sure. Ollie, do you want to come in on this one?
Yeah. I might poke the tiger a little bit here.
Do it.
But the dinosaurs didn't evolve and they died off.
Right. Yeah.
So
Okay.
When you look at things like lockdown and recessions, it's not change, it's evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And our brains don't like change.
True.
You speak to anyone, if you lined up 100 people in this room, hands up if you like change. They'll go, well, it depends on what sort of change you're talking about and how long it's going to be. But if you ask them, would you like to improve, develop, evolve? Oh, yeah, I'd love that. So the power of language is really important. And I think as leaders, we've got to understand the power of the mind on the businesses that we develop and we run. And we do a lot of leadership development, don't we, around the psychology of change, because that's where you have to start. And there's a part of your brain called the amygdala. I don't even know about the amygdala.
No, I don't.
It's the size of a coffee bean and it's the fight or flight response. And it's biological. You can't remove it.
Right.
And it plays a huge part in every single experience you have. And because it's the fight or flight, it's called the survival instinct. And most people wake up on this planet to survive. We like to think we're a bit more evolved than that, but actually we haven't evolved it that much further. So when you wake up, you look at so many different ways in which you have to survive. So that's looking at problems in your life, problems of the day, problems in your business. And if you focus solely on problems, you're not moving forward. What we try and do as practitioners is help people to understand where they're going to take their business and how it's going to evolve through their people, through their customer experience, through their technology, through all of the infrastructure they need. And then we help navigate through that evolution and not see these challenges as problems, but exciting moments so that they can actually embrace those challenges and navigate through them successfully. And that's what great successful leaders do and great successful businesses do. And we're just supporting that program, that progress, aren't we?
We are, absolutely. And I think, that's where we say we roll our sleeves up and get under the bonnet.
Yeah.
Have a look what needs to be changed for success. Most change comes from external forces. So we can see the forces of the pandemic and how that has changed many organisations. Very often you'll see transformation happening at that sort of middle management level, at an operational level. But that doesn't tend to stick. It doesn't tend to make the lasting change that we know that we need to make. So change has got to start at the top, and it's got to start with a shared vision of what you're trying to achieve. Now, sometimes that can be tricky because not everybody in the boardroom will be on the same page. So when we're working with organisations, we spend an awful lot of time helping them to understand what their vision is for success, successful change, and then getting people onto the same page. And it goes back to what Ollie was saying. Maybe some people fear change. It might affect their job. Maybe they've been very comfortable in the job that they've been doing and they don't want that transformation. But that's where you've got to begin.
Sure.
I think that would be my top tip for successful transformation is get everybody on board at the top. And then you've got to make sure that you're engaging people further down the organisation. Do your employee voice sessions, those focus sessions. Give people an element of control in how the transformation evolves. And they're bound to come with you much more readily. So I think it's crucial.
I like what you said there, Ollie, about the kind of language that you use and just changing that word, change to improve.
Yeah.
Wow, it's just something like that. What a difference in the mindset.
Absolutely.
Already with me. I think you say change, do you want to change your broadband provider? Not really. No, I'm happy with what I've got. Would you like to improve what you've got?
Absolutely.
Improve. Yeah, I'd like to improve it.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Do you
you're
know what?
up
I'm gonna
for the
take that.
journey rather than seeing the challenge and the stress. Perhaps you're
Yeah.
up for it. Oh, hello, yeah.
See,
I'm on,
and this
I'm
is
on
why you
board.
guys are paid the big bucks, because your knowledge, is
Well, it can be really exciting as well.
Yeah.
Totally.
yeah, of course,
You know,
yeah.
change is exciting. We're going through an evolution ourselves because Josh has joined us as
Yes, and what a
director
catch!
of
Like, what a catch
operations.
you got, Josh.
Very kind.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
all change. Your whole life's change and
Yeah,
evolution.
indeed. For things to change, we have to change, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
this Mojo podcast, Morning Mojo, is aimed really to inspire, motivate people. When they're getting up in the morning, it goes at 8:00 every single morning, and trying to extract from our guests those quotes, those inspirational bits that you've probably picked up on your journey. Is there any that kind of stick out for you, Josh? Again, I'll start with you. Just
there's one heard Brendan Bouchard, so American change guy, and more of a mindset and an attitude and a tattoo maybe, but live, love, matter, which needs explaining, but live as in being able to enjoy the moments and celebrate the best of life. So like today happens to be a sunny day in the middle of some horrendous rainy weather.
Indeed.
So just standing outside with the sun on your face or looking at that view that's appeared behind the clouds. So living and existing and doing nice things, and then love. So loving people and being available to be loved yourself. So you're just putting goodness out into the world and being able to receive it as well. And then matter, as in do things that matter. So having a bit of a purpose, whether that's volunteering, whether that's supporting people not as well off as you, doing things that matter and make a positive difference in your world.
I love it, and I love your shirt, by the way. So talking
Thank you very
about
much. Couldn't quite match yours, but
I don't know. I've got a bit of shirt envy going off. I'm being honest with you, Josh. I'm gonna have a word.
I'll put you in touch with my tailor.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have a word with my tailor this afternoon and see what the hell's going on. Ruth, coming over to you.
So mine would be a Mark Twain saying, and it's to do with procrastination. So if you don't feel that motivated, I always think this is a lovely thing to say to yourself. And what it says is, if you've got to eat a frog, and yes, I did say a frog. If you've got to eat a frog, eat it in the morning. If you've got to eat 2 frogs, eat the biggest one first.
Okay.
And I think that's a good thing
Get out of
to
the way.
live by. You get it? Yeah, the
Get out of the way.
difficult things,
Yes.
the frogs in your life,
Yes.
eat them early.
See, this is great. No one else has come up with that so far in 20 odd episodes. That's great.
It didn't have garlic butter in his day. It's
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And Ollie, last but not
Yeah,
least, your kind of quote.
there's 2 for me actually. There's
Brilliant.
one. I think it was Mark. Was it? No, it was Henry Ford.
Oh yeah.
And you probably heard it.
I
but,
might
you know,
have, I don't know.
if you think you can or you think you can't, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right.
Correct.
Which
Yes.
is this sort of
That's a great
self-talk.
saying.
Again, it goes back to just, planning ahead and thinking about your life and what
Yes.
you're going to be and who you're going to be and what you're going to do, and just go for it, right?
Yeah.
Which leads me to a quote by Audrey Hepburn, which says, "Nothing is impossible. In fact, I am possible."
Yes, when separated, right? The word
Yeah,
separated. Yeah, I'm possible.
And we're all just so full of potential, and we meet so many people who just don't believe in themselves.
Yeah.
And they run amazing businesses, or they're part of an amazing business and they're doing amazing things, and they still can't see it. And we just sort of like shine a light on it a little bit, don't we, sometimes? Because
do.
people need that.
I mean, for me, what I tend to echo in this podcast is everything for me just works on energy, thought.
Yeah.
Anything that ever has been, ever was, is thought. It's come from a thought, right? We're sat on these sofas because someone thought about creating these sofas.
Yeah.
And I think going back to the Henry Ford quote, that if you think you can, you can.
Yeah.
And I know it's difficult because things come in the way and life isn't perfect. Like I
Mhm.
said, it's not all unicorns and rainbows, and things happen, but you have to overcome those. But ultimately, if you keep trying, never give up, believe,
Mhm.
then, these are the kind of skills that we need to add to what you guys teach and do so well to hopefully live that prosperous life and live in the moment too.
Yeah.
It's all good to plan, but
That's right,
tomorrow is never promised, of course.
Yeah. No one's going to rescue you. It's your job, your responsibility, your life, isn't it?
Indeed.
As the phrase, once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. So once you decide you're on a path, then things appear that you wouldn't have seen otherwise if you hadn't made that decision, that allow you to then take those steps forward.
That's right. Yeah, and I don't want to go too deep in a 20-minute podcast, which I can't, but talk about frequency and energy vibes and things without wishful thinking. But, there's something in it, I think, I mean, let me just sum up this question. What is it all about? We're on this journey, we come into this world, we go out of this world, and we do this bit in the middle. What is it for you, Ollie, if you was to sum up what life is all about?
Well, the first thing is, I think it's made up of three things. First of all, we talk about motivation a lot, don't we?
We do.
It's a waste of time.
Okay.
Motivation does not exist because it's like the tide. It comes and goes, now and then. You can watch a movie, be inspired, read a book, be inspired, but you wake up in the morning and you're back to the day, aren't you? Right. So you can't rely on motivation. You have to rely on internal purpose and focus.
Yes.
Right. So once you align yourself with something that you want to do, great parenting, being a great nurse, being a great business owner, being a great sport, whatever it's going to be, you do that. And then it's the disciplines. It's getting up when you don't want to get up, right? It's getting out and doing the things you don't want to do. Like people would be nervous about podcasts. Do it anyway, right? Because it's the failure piece, isn't it?
Just about
the way you're going to learn is to fail over and over again. Then you get good at something. It's like learning a language, right? And there's a big thing about people's need for perfection now, which is nonsense, really. It doesn't exist.
True.
And then the other thing is just knowledge, wisdom, constantly updating your mental software. And I think the key to life is don't rely on motivation. It doesn't exist. The knight in shining armor is not going to turn up on your door and save you. It's your job, your responsibility. Decide what the disciplines are in order for you to live a fulfilling life, and then always learn and constantly grow and develop into those outcomes that you're trying to create. And it's such a great journey when you do that.
Absolutely superb. And Ruth?
For me, I think it's about pushing out of the comfort zone. So as Ollie talked, pushing yourself out of the comfort zone into that fear zone, even though the amygdala is telling you not to go there because you might be crap at what you're trying to do or something. But getting into that fear zone, moving through it, learning, and then you grow. And then actually the growth zone becomes the comfort zone again. So you've got to constantly push yourself. And I think this thing that Ollie mentioned about having purpose is so important. I think as you go through your life, you have different purposes in life. So, when I was in my my 20s and early 30s, my purpose was very much about making sure that I did the best that I could for my son and supported him to be well educated and so on. Now I'm getting to the point where I'm focusing on my grandchildren to do the same. And that's what sort of motivates me. It's that purpose. And as Ollie says, that's what makes you get up in the morning. As I get older, what I'm really interested in doing is taking some of the wisdom and the learning that I've had through my life and making sure that I transfer that to others. And I think that's a really crucial piece, so that people beyond my lifetime can look back and sort of learn from maybe what I learned.
Sure.
That becomes really important to me as I get older.
Absolutely. I mean, the purpose, the why. Someone once said to me, Shane, if your why doesn't make you cry, then your why's not strong enough. It's not powerful enough.
Yeah.
And that's, that's why I resonate with that. I don't have children, but I have nieces and nephews and obviously a partner to die for. And for me, that's why I'm on the journey to make sure that, I look after them and make sure they feel happy and content in life. And Josh, last but not least.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of that chimes with the live, love, matter type mantra. But the other one then to build on that is be kind, be curious. So again, your approach to other people being kind, but that inquiring mind, the growth mindset, that you're always curious and interested in different things, to finding things fascinating. And then I think just adding on to what Ruth said is that, then giving that over to others. So sharing.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, one thing for me is when I'm in a supermarket and I'm picking up certain things, whatever, someone on the checkout might say, "Oh, how are you?" Or someone stacking the shelves will say, "Oh, hi, how are you?" Or something like that. And I always make sure I come back with, "Do you know what? I'm on top of the world, thank you."
Nice.
Looking down on creation. And I know it sounds like a song.
Burst into song.
Funny that.
But, 9 times out of 10, they'll turn back around and they go, "Wow,
that's right.
never heard that before." I said, "Well, let you try that." I said, "The next time someone asks you how you are or something like that, really get into that vibration of, I'm on top of the world, And they're like, wow, And the other thing as well, I'll just drop this little nugget in there. So my local pub where I'll pop into only a couple of times a month. Not a lot. I've got a drink problem. 2 rounds, 1 mouth. That's a problem. But I'll go in there and the young chap behind the bar goes, "Oh, Shane," he said, "I love watching all your videos. I'd love to do that." And I said, "Buddy, you can."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You can. I said, the only thing stopping you, in my opinion, to start, there's lots of things, but, awareness. I said, you're just unaware at the moment that, you're working behind this bar, but with the shift of your awareness, you can actually own the bar.
That's right.
So that's what I want from this podcast with all these wonderful guests that we're getting in. It's just people to, chase the dream, live in the moment, and all these wonderful things we've talked about.
On that, just very quickly, people compare themselves always upwards, don't they?
Yes.
Like that 1% who've got this, got that.
It's all right for them. Yeah.
It's all right. And actually, if you look down, you're so lucky where you are now, right?
Yes.
And that will fuel you to go, well, actually, I need to take advantage of this because you've got so many opportunities that you're just missing because you're not, again, it's the amygdala looking at the problems, not the ideas and solutions and it's the hows and whats, isn't it?
It is.
Starting with the why, but then it's the hows and whats. Why do I want that? How do I get it? And what do I need to do?
Actually, Josh mentioned, kindness and so on. And we often talk about random acts of kindness. Now, what's the chemical that it produces?
Well, there's dopamine.
Yeah.
There's serotonin. And there's, not adrenaline, but those would be the two main
so that
feel-good chemicals.
Like, is it 36 hours or something? Have you done something good for somebody else?
Yeah, that's right.
That's it.
What's not to like?
Exactly.
You've got to manage your serotonin and your dopamine.
Yeah.
Well,
neurochemicals.
I tell you what, I'm buzzed right up with this. And I knew this would happen because we're flying through the time. So I do need to wrap up. I know we had some slides. We haven't mentioned the slides, but I think we've got a lot of content in there from you guys. Now, just a little chance to really wrap up and just give your business a bit of a shout out as well, Ruth. I'm going to come to you for this bit. But for people to get in contact with you, this is the time to do it. And just kind of any last parting words.
Right. Okay. So, get in touch with us. We're at
Don't have to say W anymore.
smartworkingrevolution.com. We'd love to talk to you about some of the things that we've been chatting about here today. You can also make contact with Ollie or Josh or myself on LinkedIn. Yep. We put lots of content out there, don't we?
We'll make sure we tag you in all this as well.
Daily content, actually.
Yeah. And all three of us are here to help. So happy to talk to those people out there enjoying this this little chat today.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm a massive fan of your work, and obviously where you were before, and now the shift over to these guys, it can only go one way up as well. So honestly, it's made my day. When we started, I came in this morning. Ruth came into the studio. And I was like, "Oh, hello, Ruth." I was delighted to see her, but I couldn't work out why she was here because in the diary I only had Josh's name, and Megan's organised all this. So I'm thinking, if I forgot something, I forgot something here.
Oh no, you get 3 for the price of one with our organisation.
Over the moon. Well, guys, there you are. There's another episode of Morning Mojo with these wonderful guests. Make sure you follow them all. We'll tag them in the post and the show notes. But as always, I'd like to say a massive thank you to our producers, Megan and to Jay, for pulling this all together. It doesn't work on its own. It's a huge team effort. Share it, like it, love it, subscribe, hit that notification bell, get your Morning Mojo with all our wonderful guests. But until next time, make sure you have the most amazing remainder of your day. But from myself and these wonderful guests, we'll see you soon. Take care.